Welcome. This is the Mentally Whole podcast. I am your host, Lauren Green. This podcast is a safe place for us to have weekly discussions about mental health, Christ, personal development, and the tools to live our best lives. Stay tuned for a new episode. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Mentally Whole podcast. This is your host, Lauren Murray. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy New Year. You guys have not heard my voice on the show since December. I have not recorded since December. So I am excited to be recording today. Today is January 8th. It's a Saturday. If you're from Maryland, it's still snow on the ground. But yeah, I'm excited to be recording today. Today's episode will be a very reflective one. But before we get into that, I just want to shout out to everybody that listened to the podcast in 2021, because you know your girl was not as consistent with the podcast in 2021. And I am grateful for each and every person that listened to any episode in 2021. So shout out to y'all. You guys are awesome. So I wanted to kick off this year with a year in review episode. I can't remember if I did one for 2020. And I didn't check my episodes to go see. So maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I had therapy on Tuesday, because Tuesdays is therapy day for me. And, well, every other week, that is. And when I got to session virtually, she asked, that I want to do an activity. And it was a year in review. And these are not my questions. These are my therapist's questions. So shout out to her. But you can use these questions as well, because it's not too late to do a year in review. By the time this episode comes out, will only be like 2 weeks into the year. So it's still fresh to do, not still fresh, but still time to do a year in review. Even if you do this in February, March, April, May, whatever, you can still do a year in review. So the first question she asked me was, what were the highs that happened this year? So I listed 4. So getting my full therapy license was a major achievement, and that happened in February of last year. I went on a vacation for my birthday. I got my vaccination. And I also was a maid of honor for the first time. But before we get into the next question, the first question before she asked me what were my highs of 2021, she asked me about how did the year go for me, or how would I describe 2021. So I described 2021 as a year where I felt like time went really fast. I don't know if I wasn't taking the time to cherish certain moments or what, but I just felt like 2021 went by super fast. I did a reel on Instagram, and it was like this month of the year song. And so I had to look for pictures for each month of the year for 2021. And I looked at some of them pictures like, that was in February? Like, that picture was in January? Because, on your iPhone, you have an iPhone, it tells you the date of the picture. And so some pictures I'm like, that was March? That was in April? That was in June? That was in July? Like, I don't know. I just feel like last year went by really, really fast. And we were even talking in my therapy session about how in a few days it would be the 1 year anniversary of what happened at the Capitol and the riot that happened at the Capitol. And I was like, what? That happened a year ago? Like, I was really in shock. Like, I feel like 2021 just went by really, really fast. I don't know if it was a combination of just not cherishing the moment, or a combination of me just always working. Like literally last year, I was working constantly, and mental health has not slowed down. It's almost like everybody and their cousins and them want therapy now, which is great. Get your help. But, pray for the therapist people in your life, because it's not an easy job. I'm going to just say that. So the next question that she asked me was, what did 2021 teach me about myself? Okay, and I know my answer. So what I believe my answer was just to be more confident in myself, work-wise, personally, just to be more confident in myself. Now, there were some experiences in 2021 that did come and boost my confidence in certain areas of my life, which I'm grateful for, but I still feel like I have a ways to go. Not that long, but just a ways to go. And she asked me about any, positive risk that I would want to take. I didn't have an answer for that. But she was saying like, yes, you want to challenge certain thoughts, but you also need to have like a behavior component to it, because it's like you're doing something to change that thought as well. Oh yeah, she said, how do you negate a thought without challenging it? So yes, in your mind and stuff, challenging the thought, but also behaviorally changing the thought. So the next question she asked me was what do I need to accept about myself and other people? I guess the conversation was going good because I didn't write down my answer for this one. But yeah, what do I need to accept about myself and other people? Right? Like, what do you need to accept about yourself and other people? The next question she asked was, how do you deal with uncomfortable feelings? So usually if I'm overwhelmed with emotion, or I'm upset, or I'm angry, or whatever the emotion is, I will shut down and not talk about it. On the flip side of that, if I don't feel comfortable talking to the person, then I won't talk about certain things. And one of the things that she told me to do was to think of pictures or drawings to describe how I feel, to really get my mind going, I guess, about really like how I feel. Because I had mentioned for that answer as well that sometimes I don't know the feeling of how I'm feeling. Like, I know I feel something, but I can't name the feeling, right? And a big part of communication is saying like, hey, I feel sad, or hey, I'm angry. But sometimes I don't know how I feel, So that paper flip was really loud. So the next question, a quote that she gave me that I loved in the session was, she said that variety is the spice of life. We were talking about my consistency with working out, and she was saying, if you become too rigid and too routine, it might become boring. So maybe having a list of exercises to choose from on those days where I get bored, or randomly picking an exercise to do just to keep the variety going, because I do get bored pretty quickly. So the next question we went over, question was what limiting beliefs do I need to get rid of? So the only one that I could think of was I am not good enough. And like I told my therapist, like I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it was like a childhood thing, teenage thing, something that happened in adulthood. I'm not really sure. So she gave me the homework to do every day until our next session, which is to fill in the blank. So I am good enough to, or I'm good enough for, every day until our next session, and then bring that back to session, in 2 weeks. So, which I've been doing, and it's been very eye-opening. So I am good enough to blank, or I am good enough for blank. And the last question was, which is a beautiful, beautiful question. It is what is a boundary to implement for my peace? So I'm probably paraphrasing the question. And we only really got to talk about one of my boundaries because it was almost, our time was up basically. But we talked about basically work boundaries. And, you know, I have lots of clients at the agency that I work for. And, you know, at some point in 2021, it was very overwhelming. You know, and I'm not going to talk about, it became very overwhelming. And it didn't seem like upper management really, upper management really had, you know, true solutions on how to fix, you know, everyone having, you know, large caseloads and things like that. So we really did talk about that, and she encouraged me to, you know, figure out what I want to do moving forward in my career. And I have lots of options available to me because now I have my C license, which means I'm fully licensed. So yeah, I have things to think about in, you know, the next few weeks about what I want to do in my career. Right? Amen. Yeah, I mean, and also I realized that our year in review, we didn't talk about like the lows of 2021, which I'm kind of glad about. And we did not talk about, we didn't talk about relationship things or dating things. Yeah. We haven't talked about that. But nevertheless, it was a good review. I also wrote some notes the other day about things that I was just reflecting on, and these can also go on your year review too. One of the questions that I asked myself was, what is my priority for 2022? What are my goals and intentions for 2022? Since I kind of had like a weird 2021, what do I need to restart in 2022? And similar to the limiting beliefs questions, Lord, I'm getting tongue-tied. What mindsets do I need to let go of in order, you know, to move forward? And it's so crazy. I did a vision board at the end of December. I bought myself an iPad for Christmas and an Apple Pencil for my birthday, and I had downloaded a new app called Procreate. It's a paid app on iPad though, and I literally spent like a whole day just putting together my vision board. And so that could be another question for your year in review. Like, where do you envision yourself in 2022? Like, what do you really want to do this year? So I hope this episode blessed you. It was, I hope you guys actually do these year in review questions and really, like, even if you don't write them down, like, at least think about them, meditate on them, do something. So yeah, we will be back in 2 weeks, because remember, the podcast now is bi-weekly, just so I can, like, really formulate ideas and really, like, give myself time to rest, because I think doing a weekly show for me was a lot. So we will be back bi-weekly. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna go over my word of the year and why I chose that word. Maybe, I don't know. But I hope this blessed y'all. Do these questions, y'all. Do this. Okay, these are good questions to get your life together. Okay, so I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.